You know that specific feeling when you finally hit a milestone you have been chasing for years? I am talking about the moment you log into your banking app or your investment dashboard, and you see that your net worth has finally ticked over. That magic, psychological number, $100,000. For a split second, you feel like a superhero. You think, I made it. I am officially an adult. I am winning. And the high is incredible. You probably went out for a nice dinner, maybe bought that thing you had been putting off, and you walked around with a little extra swagger in your step for a week. But then, a few months pass, maybe a year goes by, and you start to notice something weird. The thrill is gone. The number keeps going up, sure, but it feels slow. It feels heavy. You look at the distance between where you are, let us say $150,000 or $200,000, and where you want to be, which is that magical land of financial freedom, or FIRE, or whatever you want to call it, usually sitting somewhere around $1 million or more, and suddenly, you do not feel like a superhero anymore. You feel stuck. You feel like you are on a treadmill that is running at a 4% incline. You are moving, but you are not getting to the view any faster. It is this strange gray area where you have too much money to be reckless, but way too little money to actually relax. It is a weird time to be alive, financially speaking. My name is Mac, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. And I have been fascinated by this specific phase, the gap between having some money and having enough money, because it is where most people actually give up. It is where the momentum dies. By the end of this video, we are going to dive deep into why this phase feels so awkward, why your brain is playing tricks on you, and, most importantly, how to navigate the valley of disappointment so you do not quit right before the exponential growth really kicks in. Because once you understand the psychology of the middle, you stop panicking, and you start realizing that this awkward phase is actually the most important part of the whole journey. So, let us talk about why this phase feels so boring, and honestly, a little depressing. When you were starting from zero, or maybe even in debt, every single dollar you saved felt like a victory. Remember those days? You scrounged up $50 by skipping lunch for a week, and you threw it into your savings account. You could see the progress because the relative change was huge. If you had $100 and you added $50, your net worth grew by 50%. That is insane growth. Your brain loves that. It releases dopamine. It feels like you are winning a video game. But now you have $150,000, and let us say you manage to save a really respectable $1,500 a month. That is $18,000 a year. That is a lot of money. But relative to your $150,000, that is what? About 12% growth? And that is before the market even does its thing. On a day-to-day basis, your balance barely moves. You check your app, and it is up $40 one day, down $20 the next. It feels stagnant. It feels like you are wading through molasses. This is the first major psychological hurdle of the awkward phase, the death of the dopamine hit. I remember when I first crossed the six-figure mark. I thought I would feel rich. I really did. I thought I would drive different cars or live in a different zip code. But the reality was, my life looked exactly the same. I was still going to the same grocery store. I was still driving the same beat-up sedan. And I remember looking at my portfolio one morning, seeing it was up $1,000 or $2, and thinking, is this it? I felt guilty for not being happier. I thought, I should be ecstatic, so why do I feel so numb? It is because you have shifted from the accumulation phase, where the wins are frequent and relative, to the compounding phase, where the wins are slow and absolute. It is like gardening. When you plant a seed, the sprout pops up in 2 days. It is exciting. But growing a massive Oak tree? You can stare at that thing for a year and not notice it getting an inch taller. But underneath the soil, the roots are digging deep. That is where you are right now. You are growing roots. It does not look like much from the surface, but without this phase, the tree can never support the weight of the $1 million you want it to hold. So, the advice here is simple, but hard. You have to stop looking at the scoreboard every day. You have to wean yourself off the dopamine hits of daily progress. You need to fall in love with the boring monotony of consistency. The people who break through this phase are not the ones checking their balances every hour. They are the ones who set up their automatic transfer and then forget about it for 6 months. You have to trust the math, even when your feelings are telling you that nothing is happening. Now, here is where it gets dangerous. Because you are not getting those dopamine hits from your savings account anymore, your brain starts looking for pleasure elsewhere. And usually, that elsewhere is your lifestyle. This is the infamous lifestyle creep, but I think we give it a bad name sometimes. Lifestyle creep is not always buying Ferraris and yachts. In the awkward phase, it is much more subtle. It is the Goldilocks upgrades. It is the moment you decide, you know what? I have worked hard. I deserve organic avocados instead of the regular ones. It is moving from the $40 haircut to the $70 haircut because, hey, it is only $30. It is upgrading your apartment because you want a little more natural light. It is subscribing to every streaming service under the sun because $15 a month is nothing compared to your net worth, right? And individually, these decisions are fine. You should enjoy your life. But cumulatively, they are a silent killer. Because in this awkward phase, you are making more money than you ever have before. Your career is progressing. You are getting raises. You are getting bonuses. And if every extra dollar you make in income immediately gets eaten by a slightly nicer car payment or a slightly bigger rent check, you are anchoring yourself to this middle ground forever. I have a friend. Let us call him Dave. Dave hit $100,000 in net worth at about the same time I did. He was thrilled. A year later, his net worth was still $100,000. I asked him what happened. He said, well, I got a raise, so I upgraded my truck, and then I moved into a condo with a gym, and I started eating out for lunch every day because I was busy. He felt richer. He looked richer, but on paper, he was running in place. He had confused high income with high net worth. They are not the same thing. In the awkward phase, you have enough money to make your life really comfortable. You can buy the illusion of wealth. You can rent the lifestyle of a millionaire. But true wealth is not about what you consume. It is about what you control. If your expenses rise to match your income, you have successfully trapped yourself in the middle class. The way to beat this is to anchor your lifestyle to your old self, not your new self. If you get a raise, pretend you did not. If you get a bonus, dump 80% of it into investments and let yourself play with the other 20%. You have to protect the gap between your income and your expenses like it is a sacred thing. That gap is the fuel that gets you from $100,000 to $1,000,000. If you burn that fuel on upgrades, you run out of gas in the middle of the desert. Here is something nobody really prepares you for. When you had $10,000 to your name, taxes were pretty simple. You got a W-2, you maybe got a small refund, and that was it. But once you start accumulating real wealth, once you start venturing into the awkward phase, the tax code suddenly becomes very interested in you. You start dabbling in side hustles, or maybe you sell some stock that did well, or maybe you are contributing more to your 401k and navigating Roth conversions. Suddenly, you realize that the government is essentially your silent business partner, and they want their cut before you do anything else. I remember the first year I had to pay a significant tax bill on investment income. I was horrified. I had logged into my account, saw the gain, and mentally spent it on a vacation. Then tax season came, and I had to write a check to the IRS that was 4 figures. 4 figures, gone. Just like that. It felt like a punishment. For doing the right thing. It made me not want to invest. It made me want to just hide my money under the mattress. This is a dangerous mindset. If you let the fear of taxes paralyze you, you will lose. The awkward phase is where you have to start getting smart, not just active. You cannot just save money anymore, you have to engineer your money. This means learning about tax-advantaged accounts. It means understanding the difference between short-term and long-term capital gains. It means maybe harvesting a loss here and there to offset a win. It sounds boring, and trust me, it is, but it is the difference between growing your wealth at 7% and growing it at 5% after taxes. Over 20 years, that 2% difference is millions of dollars. Do not view taxes as a penalty. View them as an expense of doing business. You are the CEO of You, Inc. now. And a good CEO does not complain about overhead, they manage it. So, get a good accountant. Read a book on tax strategy for investors. Stop leaving money on the table simply because you were too lazy to fill out a form or learn the rules. This is the part that people do not talk about enough because it feels ungrateful. But the awkward phase can be lonely. When you were broke, you had a tribe. Everyone you knew was broke. You could commiserate over dollar pizzas and cheap beer. It was a bonding experience.